I think this hand. I'm not. I've never played Gold Fusion, and I assume Theo, considering that they have played an Elysian-based deck for pretty much every single tournament so far in the TNE series, has a much better grasp of the deck than I do. But no castable units right now. It's
Yeah,
just all
true.
interaction.
They are going to keep
might
that.
be a little bit dicey there. Ooh.
And then on the other side, Camomilk's going to throw it back. They've got a hand with 4 power, an Hourglass, an Exploit, and a Pompous Historian.
Did they have a Val amongst the 4 power?
They do. They have 1 Felon Vow. Yep.
Excellent. Yep, makes sense. Turn 2 Hourglass into turn 3 Pompous Historian is exactly where Camomilk wants to be.
Yep, and they're going to keep that one. All right, so here we go. Camomilk going to start it off with a depleted power. And Overmaster with a second copy of No One to Hold Him off the top.
Oh dear, that is probably not what they want to draw, especially since they don't have.
Yeah, this really isn't the fastest hand. Like you said, no units to play out. You know, they got a little bit of interaction in the Dazzle and the Fluctuate Reality, but the No One to Hold Him, not the right time for that, and not the no time sigil for the Wump. So they're going to need to draw something here. Well, there's something.
Castable. Yes, Jaral is very good, especially because Camomilk, I believe, is fairly light on interaction. So if Theo is to defend their Jaral and just keep that Jaral train rolling, it could really steamroll out of control.
Right,
some good hits. If are limitless, and another Wump there though.
Yeah, some good hits. Speed Grafter, Kozlo, Var Limitless off into the void there. Another Wump off the top with no time. That's a little frustrating from Theo's side. But you got that Jaral. Yeah, interesting here. This is definitely not the fastest hand for Theo here. Hopefully they can draw some. The problem with this hand for Theo is they need to draw a lot. You need to draw time to get Wump and Mizo. You also need to draw other more powerful Jaral, but you also want to draw some other spells too. So not really sure what Theo's plan is going to be here with this hand, unfortunately. Shoal Dredger off the top is going to put a Darkwater Vines into the void.
Yep. And Camomilk is, as the deck does, is ramping completely out of control here. They were fortunate enough to hit a Silex off of their Pompous Historian, and now have just the power to keep on rolling. Oh, so this Moonstone Fang. Okay, let's just talk about Moonstone Fang for a hot second. Although it does get plucked off by Sin Agent, which is probably the biggest downside of running a mono faction unit that doesn't really do anything when it enters the battlefield. That card goes absolutely out of control because an additional card every turn, unimpeded, will just steamroll the game. And here we see the downside of running the transform card. Sometimes you get some good stuff, but other times
that's unfortunate for Theo. Transforming that Moonstone Guardtide into a Vishni Lithrai High Blood. Now, it won't get the shift off of that, but still a 3/3 flyer with an infiltrate ability. And what's interesting here is, I don't know how relevant this is going to be, but it's going to be able to steal that Wump and Mizo. Getting it off the... Off the exploit, taking it out of their hand and then putting it into their void. It's something. We'll see if that comes up at all later.
Yeah, not a terrible hit for Camomilk, honestly. They can just make Theo do all the work of getting the snowballs, and then reanimate the Wump and Mizo and have it transform instantly.
How do you like a 1-cost 7/6?
Oh yes, that is glorious. Oh my. And now they have enough power to fair cast Vara next turn. So Theo, what can Theo do? They're definitely
in a Rum First Constructor in hand for Camomilk. They only have 7 power at the moment, so not able to cast that this turn, but probably see that coming down next turn, I would assume.
Chat, keep in mind, I can't actually see what is in Camomilk's hand because I'm not watching the stream right now. So I am speculating. I apologize if my speculations are mildly incorrect. But
No
okay.
worries. That makes it exciting. Well, they've got an 8 drop and a 7 drop in hand. Just drew Venom Spire Hydra off the top. But they're in good shape. I think the momentum here is heavily with Camomilk. They've got the board position. They've got everything they wanted to set up with their Void. They've ramped perfectly, and they've got more gas in hand, whereas Theo's got a Dazzle and 2 no one to hold them.
Um, the I think Camomilk just commits as much as they can to the board right now because seeing Theo's deck list, I don't think he has a reshape. Let me just double check. But without a board wipe-esque effect, for example, equalize out of perhaps the Justice deck, Chamomile can just slap some units onto the board and start rumbling. Okay.
All right, here's a Huntress off the top. That's something. But the problem is, I almost feel like it's too little too late here. You got to
Yeah.
answer the 7/6 as well as all these other units, as well as the gas coming from Camomilk's hand. And the Huntress is great, but you want Huntress a little bit earlier than this. It's not really going to help Theo catch up too much. It'll catch up a little bit, I guess, but the problem is you're still facing down a ton of damage with more things coming.
Yeah. I think the biggest problem here is that the Huntress can't actually answer the Shoulderer
Yep,
because even imbued, it'll only bring the Huntress up to 5 power.
that's right.
So you might just have to play the Huntress as a chump blocker here, and then I guess know the Womp and Miso, but you're still in a terrible position moving on to next turn.
Absolutely. And the not to mention the life total here, but Krull, usually the damage to the face isn't super relevant, but Theo's getting down to a point where at 9 now, presumably going to take more damage next turn. You're also shutting Krull off too. Okay, here you go.
Oh,
So
just
Theo's going to toss that
note the
out here.
hero.
Going to grab the speaking circle with the no one to hold him.
Interesting. I don't. I'm not. I don't entirely understand Theo's line here because I don't. Even if you can drop a speaking circle, I'm not sure how much it'll do. But at the same time, it's
Yeah, it's tough. Maybe it's just Theo so far behind that trying to flip something like an equalize or something relevant off the speaking circle might be enough. Maybe that's the long shot out, but even that you have to wait a couple turns to cast it
5
anyway.
turns. Yeah. What's Theo have in their market? Let's take a quick peek.
Theo's market looks like
Hmm.
Permafrost, Swift Refusal, Learned Imitator, Vengeful Flight, and Helio. So not much that's going to answer that. And there you go. Camomilk's going to take it. Pretty smooth draw. That's pretty much exactly how Camomilk wanted that game to go.
Yep. And one thing to note here, the Coalition deck doesn't, unlike the Throne version, where you still play cards like Pause for Reflection, the Coalition deck doesn't really have a way to answer something like a turn 2 or turn 3 Arcanum Hour.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as Camomile can keep fueling their Void enough, they're eventually you'll just overpower them because it's a relic that the base primal deck simply cannot deal with.
Yeah, and that was kind of a rough draw there for Theo too. Not to take anything away from Camomilk, but usually the Elysian Spells deck has a little bit of a better draw than that. So unfortunately, Theo couldn't really deploy anything out in time. It seems like in this matchup, that's going to be required. That Theo's going to have to hit the board early. He's going to have to start developing. Can't fall behind like that because Camomilk's going to ramp into things that are above and beyond what Theo's going to be able to do.
Oops. So, okay, so this opening hand from Theo, I think, is a very clear mull. Only 1 power. A lot of good stuff, but one power is unacceptable, especially one undepleted power. Mhm.
All right. And on Camomilk's side, they've got a Silex, a Vow, a Time Symbol, a Moonstone Vanguard, an Hourglass, Nectar of Unlife, and a Katra. Looks like another good hand from Camomilk's side.
That is wonderful. I don't think they would have. Ooh, I I would be tempted to keep this from Theo's side. Yeah, and that's what he goes with. Because even though you have the 2 power and the unfortunate crawl in uh turn 3, my Womp and Miso is still really, really good.
Yep.
So
Yeah, close to the turn two Wump with the symbol, but not quite because it doesn't have the time in hand and doesn't I'm not able to do that. So unfortunately, get turn three Wump, but still good enough. You've got Giral here. You've got a Seek Power next turn. Early Shoal Dredger, flipping over a Speed Grafter there for Camomilk. I like this. This ramp has been so smooth for Camomilk. Not even no effort involved. Just getting out there and all of a sudden it's going to be at 5 power next turn at minimum. Another primal
Okay,
symbol
let's see
off the
what
top.
video it is here. I think in this matchup, I'd be tempted to go Seek Power into Wump and Mizo,
Mhm.
but I don't know. I don't really play this deck.
Yeah, I
So
think
let's see
that
what
sounds
Theo
like a
does
good
here.
plan. Getting on the board, getting a threat that Camomilk has to answer. I agree. I think that's a good strong play there.
Yep.
And
Okay.
we know that he does have Nectar of Unlife in hand, which is unfortunate for Theo, but I don't think that means you don't play out the Wump. You still got to play out your threats.
No, you absolutely still got to play at the Wump. Okay, so this is a. Well, I guess the question is, will we see? No, okay, they're definitely going for Nectar Fun. Ooh, what are the Speed Grafter?
We're
Excellent.
seeing an
Yeah, for a
Aerodons.
moment I was thinking they'd go for Katra, but that 5 power is perfect for that Nectar of Unlife.
Yeah, that's really nice there. You're gonna play the primal symbol. Blind draw after all. Misses, unfortunately.
Ooh.
We've got another draw to back that up. The two draws can get out of hand if Theo's able to move this into the mid game, get some more power down, start getting him huge, draw some spells. But Camomilk already at 6 power.
Yeah, and a full grip of cards in hand as well.
Yeah.
Like normally the ramp decks really struggle with having threats play it afterwards, but with how Hourglass works, you just dump all the cards in your deck as opposed to the cards in your hand into the void and ramp that way. So you're still at parity in terms of cards.
Yep.
Even outdrawing the primal base deck, which is
And this
wow.
is not the display bug. This is actually a full 7 card grip for Camomilk here. He's got double Speed Grafter, another power, Vara Limitless, Shoal Dredger, Katra, and Moonstone Vanguard. So tons of different options here for Camomilk.
Does does Camomilk? Could we do a quick check as to whether Camomilk has any units in their Void for Vara? I
Yep.
don't quite remember.
No, they got because they
No.
pulled the Speed Grafter back.
Yep.
They've got Nectar, Snowball, and Treasure Trove. Also means Shoal Dredger is the full cost at the moment. So lots to do here for Camomilk, but does need to do something and need to start either answering these Durals or overpowering them because unanswered Durals, once Overmaster is able to get to 8 Primal, can do a ton of damage real fast.
Indeed. Here.
Vicious Overgrowth off the top for Theo. Not a bad removal spell, but Theo needs some power. Doesn't want to be stuck on 4 power.
Indeed.
And 2 Speaking Circles.
Ooh,
Ouch.
that is not what he wanted to see. My gosh.
Oof. That was
Okay.
brutal Wisdom of the Elders right there. Not only did you not draw the power you needed, but you drew basically 2 uncastable cards.
Here. I think yeah, and the decay on the Speed Grafter makes it so that you can't even get a free what
Yep.
is usually a free attack in with your
Yep.
try and draw something.
All right. Camomilk with a Pompous Historian for the turn. Here comes the really using that power really efficiently this game, getting that Moonstar Vanguard and Speed Grafter. But it feels like Camomilk has milked every power out of every single turn.
But my gosh, that is another
Another
incastable
blank.
card for
Yeah.
Theo. I really like the Moonstone Vanguard here because, as I said, you know that Theo is currently behind,
Mhm.
and Moonstone Vanguard is just a card that goes out of hand really quickly. I don't remember. I don't quite remember the name of the new 3 cost rare primal relic, where at the start of your turn each player draws an additional card.
Mhm.
But having a personal one, a one-sided one,
Yep.
is bonkers. Is absolutely bonkers.
Absolutely. Yeah, Theo's in rough shape here. I mean, essentially drew 3 straight blanks when needed to hit power, so is both power screwed and also has just been drawing uncastable cards as well. And looking at their hand, I don't even know what else they're supposed to do. Nothing else is really relevant here, so they're just going to fire off a vicious overgrowth just to take care of one of the units, but that's that's essentially doing nothing this turn. And unfortunately for Theo, these hands have not cooperated either of these games. So Moonstar Vanguard's going to come in for 5 damage. Another VAR Limitless off the top for Camomilk. You got Katra, 2 copies of VAR Limitless, a Pompous Historian, and an Express Route.
Pompous Historian, just fill the yard for that.
There you go.
Hourglass.
That hit 5 units there? 4 units?
More fuel for Vara.
Katra. Yep.
I'm not sure. So they have 2 Vara Limitlesses in hand? I might have been tempted to just... Is there anything else that they could have cast besides Katra?
Not really. You've got the express route, but I don't really think it's needed to play that there.
Absolutely. No need to play the express route here.
All right, Transform's going to do a little bit of work here. Now the draws are up to 3/5s, and that Transform's going to knock these down. And luckily for Theo, finally hit that power to both put them to 5 and give them the double time. So if we can say stabilize, Theo started to stabilize there a little bit. Unfortunately, Camomilk, you're just giving Camomilk more power, more time to do more work with plenty of cards in hand. Here's the exploit. I assume taking Master Conjurer, because taking Speaking Circle doesn't really do anything.
I think. Yeah.
I mean, Conjurer's not really doing anything either, but with the 2 draws, it's
the one of.
Yeah.
It's the one of. And
one of the VAR Limitless notices does have charge. Here you go. So thanks to the Grafter, this one is a 7/7/8/8 now charge. All right, that's gonna put Theo down to 11. Again, we see that late Huntress.
What Theo does get out of this position here, because even if Theo somehow managed, he drew the Huntress in this, but even if he had drawn an undepleted power, at the best hit that you have off Speaking Circle is probably Equalize, and that still leaves Camomilk with 2 Varas.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, gonna go ahead and turn that Kroll into a Shadow Sigil to go up to 6 power. Ooh, here's a Shoal Dredger off the top. They're big fatty for Camomilk. Yeah, here you go. So you got Speaking Circle now that Theo can play next turn. I mean, Equalize is okay, but it's not even the greatest spell either. I mean, Camomilk's still gonna have cards in hand and 2 Varas out.
I guess, Camomilk could try. Theo could try and set up like a chump blocky situation by just like chump blocking the 2 Varas, but yeah.
Well, unfortunately, Theo really didn't have any hands that behaved there, and very nice hands for Camomilk there. That was pretty impressive.